I will forewarn you and go ahead and apologize for my voice because whatever's going around has got me. And we have started the recording for this meeting. And without further ado, we will get started. I'm Marlia Finch. I'm the Assistant Director of School Nutrition with the Tennessee Department of Education, Coordinated School Health Division. And my colleague who will also be presenting, I will let her introduce herself real quick.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christine Rockwood. I am the program manager for Healthy Students, Stronger Learners in the Division of Coordinated School Health. I oversee a grant through the Center for Disease Control to provide professional development and technical assistance around school health components.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So before we dive into the fun part of this training, we'll get through all housekeeping items. So the generative AI tools, the state of Tennessee does not currently permit the use of the generative AI tools such as Otter in meetings hosted on state resources. Meetings with contractors, vendors, and subrecipients are not public meetings and may involve discussion of protected state data. So the generative AI tools are not adequately regulated and are designed to train on data that is collected and may misrepresent data or release protected data to the general public. So while we support your desire to maintain documentation of the meeting and what you learned, please respect our decision to safeguard the information and do not attempt to use these tools. If you do choose to use these tools, we will block those from the meeting. So if we see those pop up in the meeting, we'll just remove them. Currently, we don't have any that I see, so we're doing great. This is being recorded, and we will send out a follow-up email with all of the slides and the recording after the call. All right, without further ado, I'm going to pass it back to Christine, and she'll talk about the mission statement.
Yes, so Tennessee Coordinated School Health exists because we know student health and academic success are directly connected. Coordinated School Health is made up of 8 components, which you can see here in the graphic on the screen, including nutrition as one of those 8 components. We have learned and we know that when students are healthy, safe, supported, and engaged through all 8 components, they're more ready to learn and more likely to achieve academically. This mission statement reflects Tennessee's Coordinated School Health approach.
So Christine covered the Coordinated School Health mission statement, and then with the school nutrition program here with the department, we have our own mission statement as well, which aligns perfectly with the Coordinated School Health mission statement. And our school nutrition specific mission statement is to cultivate a culture of integrity, knowledge, and collaboration by empowering school nutrition professionals to serve nutritious meals, fuel student success, and build thriving communities. So again, it all links back together and it shows a great collaboration between nutrition being a component of the overall coordinated school health division. So on today's agenda, we will look over wellness policy requirements, local level partnerships. We'll have Hamilton County show collaboration and action. And then we'll talk about a little bit of compliance with our administrative reviews and how the wellness policy is overseen. We'll have small group discussions with breakout sessions, and then we'll all come back to the main meeting space for questions. So diving right into the wellness policy requirements. So what is required from your wellness policy? So here is a general overview of the requirements. So each LEA participating in the National School Lunch Program or Breakfast Program is required to establish a written local school wellness policy for students under its jurisdiction. The policy guides the LEA's efforts to establish a school environment that promotes student health, well-being, and the ability to learn. Because research has shown that well-designed, well-implemented school programs and policies can effectively promote healthy eating habits. And if you would like to read all the fun federal regulations and requirements, you can click on the link after we send this presentation out. and read the local wellness policy requirements in 7 CFR 210.31. All right, so just a high-level overview of what items your local wellness policy must include. So, specific goals for nutrition promotion and education, physical activity, and other school-based activities that promote student wellness. That must be in the wellness policy. Standards and nutrition guidelines for all foods and beverages sold to students on the school campus during the school day. So again, all foods and beverages sold to students on campus during the school day. Standards for all food and beverages provided but not sold to students. So any food and beverages provided to students um, must have something written in that wellness policy to provide those standards. Policies that restrict the marketing of food and beverages to those that meet Smart Snack requirements. So again, your local wellness policy may have your marketing section in there, and that's why, because we have to have some kind of policy for marketing those food and beverages within your school district. And also, it must include public involvement. How do you allow public involvement to participate in the wellness policy process? And then additional requirements may consider review and consider evidence-based strategies in determining local school wellness goals. Also, these additional requirements will inform, and update the public, including parents, students, and other stakeholders, about the content and implementation of the local school wellness policy. So again, how are you involving the community and those external partners into your wellness policy? And also, you need to conduct an assessment at least once every three years to determine compliance, progress, and the extent to which the policy compares to local school wellness policies. So again, you set goals. How are you going to assess that? So you need to do your assessment every 3 years to determine if you are in compliance with your own wellness policy. And again, update or modify the local school wellness policy as appropriate. So you may have goals 1 year, and then you reassess and reevaluate at that 3 year mark for your triennial assessment. And some things aren't working. That's okay. You can modify a school wellness policy as you need. Speaking of the triennial assessments, all wellness policies must be assessed every 3 years. And this assessment really helps to determine if the stated policies in your wellness policy are being met, to what extent which schools comply with local wellness policy. So do you still have those required elements in that wellness policy? Also, it helps to see if your policies are aligning with any model policies that your district may have adapted. And this assessment helps to describe the progress towards all of your policy goals and what progress has been made for certain goals. Have you met all of your goals? Again, assessment is key to your local wellness policy. And these triennial assessments must be made available to the public. So posting it on your school district website is a great way to showcase that, hey, you have a local wellness policy and you are assessing that. And that way the community and the public have access to that. We do have a sample of a local wellness policy assessment. Again, for the sake of time, you will be able to review this in the recap email that you get after the meeting. And we've listed many more local wellness policy resources for you. Some of these are USDA resources. Some of them are sample assessments. Others, so the last two, the requirement overview and the local wellness policy checklist. The school nutrition team at the state has created these resources. They're fairly newer resources, and that we've shared out. And again, we will share all of these resources you have access to once you get this slide deck.
All right. Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about local level partnerships. So, one of the most important steps in building or strengthening a wellness policy is making sure you have the right people at the table. So, as you can see here, there's several different type of partners listed. So, why do we want this group of people to come together? So, first, teachers and staff. So, they understand things that are going on day to day, the reality of implementation within the schools. They can help identify what's working well, where the barriers are, what supports are needed for sustainability. Um, and including staff will bring buy-in and long-term success. Students, the piece that we sometimes forget. So student voice is critical. Students can provide insight into cafeteria experiences, physical activity opportunities, and mental health and school climate also. And when students help shape policies, they're more likely to support them and follow them. Parents, why do you want to have parents on your committee? Parents can help connect school wellness efforts to the home environment. They can reinforce the healthy habits at home, provide feedback on communication, which is always needed, and help advocate for wellness priorities in the community. Community members, these might be members of your local health department, Parks and Rec, other local organizations within your district. They can help expand resources and support, and they can also help sustain efforts beyond the school building. One big thing that we want to look at is not to reinvent the wheel. Every district is required to have a school health advisory council through coordinated school health, and that council can serve as your wellness policy council also to help revamp your policy. Next slide. So the importance of the team. So I think I've already hit on this, but better understanding of local level policies and procedures gives you multiple perspectives of what the wellness policy is and how it will affect the different subgroups that it affects. And it brings in the stakeholders. We know that strong wellness policies are built through collaboration, not in isolation. And the more representative your team is, the stronger and more sustainable your policy will be. Next slide. So now I am going to go ahead and turn it over to Kathy and Kristen from Hamilton County, and I will have them introduce themselves.
All right. So that's me on the left in my banana costume. I'm the director of school nutrition. I was at an event. It's been a while since I put that costume on. So I'll let Kathy introduce herself.
Oh, I love the costume. I'm Kathy Jennings. I'm the coordinator for Hamilton County Schools, and that's a load of pumpkins that I hauled for our farm to school program.
All right. So you're probably familiar with Hamilton County Schools. We're Chattanooga and the surrounding area. We have about 45,000 students, 82 schools technically. Some of those are charter schools that we don't feed. So we have 71 meal sites. We are a mixed district. So 47 of our schools are CEP, the rest are not. And we have 8 schools that participate in the fresh fruit and vegetable program. So we really view the wellness policy through a shared leadership model. There are certain things I only know how to do, certain things that Kathy's better equipped to do, but we both work together to make sure that we're compliant and successful. So the first thing that I do is interpret the USDA requirements. So I don't think the state would ever mention it, but I can say from a school nutrition director standpoint, I hear a lot from school nutrition that we are frustrated that this falls up under our audit because so much of it is outside of our scope of work. However, we can't completely step out from being a part of it because we are the ones being audited. So I view it as my responsibility to know what the requirements are and make sure that Kathy and all the people she works with also know what we need to do in order to be compliant. So I'm reviewing that policy from a regulatory standpoint, making sure that, hey, I noticed that we don't have any goals on physical education. We need to make sure that we get something in there about that. I'm not the right person to do that, but I can let Kathy know that we need to work toward that. I also oversee any of the nutrition related components that might be in that wellness policy. So for example, when I first came on board, the wellness policy said that we were going to work towards ServSafe certification for our cafeteria managers, and none of that was being done. So it was my job to say, okay, do we want to keep this as a goal or do we want to change it? So we ultimately decided to keep it as a goal and actually work toward compliance there. I also took on designing and managing the assessment tool simply because, again, I view it as a regulatory piece. I knew what the state was looking for when they were going to audit us on whether the assessment met the requirements that it needed to. So I designed it and kind of make sure that it gets done. And then I also maintain all the documentation related to the wellness policy.
So first of all, I want to tell everybody on the call that it is critical that you have a good relationship with your school nutrition department from a coordinated school health standpoint. Kristen is wonderful to work with. I don't think either one of us feel like one's bearing more of the weight than the other. Kristen's got her area of expertise, and I just basically pick up the pieces as needed. But I do oversee the School Health Advisory Council. I also work with administration every year when they say, hey, this policy's up for review. Do we need to make any changes? And then I get with Kristen and we go from there. And I basically, after Kristen and I coordinate, I will say that not every piece of the wellness policy is school nutrition. So there are some other things you've got to look at as far as physical activity. So other partners that you need to engage. But Kristen is my go-to person. I am happy to tell you that the last time we did receive an evaluation of our wellness policy, which has been a few years ago, the coordinator at the state did it at the time, and we scored 41 out of 50. And we really should have scored 49 out of 50, but. So, Kristen, I think the next slide.
All right. So like Christine said, the SHAC Council is a great resource to update the wellness policy. And that's really what Kathy's piece is. So I'll let her talk about that.
So if you're wondering, how you select members of the School Health Advisory Council, I've done a lot of research over the years on this. And one thing I do want to tell you is this scared me to death at first. This was 10, 11 years ago when they said, oh, you got to work on this. I said, I don't know anything about policy. Where do I start? So start doing a lot of research. And some of the research tells you that a lot of the members of your School Health Advisory Council should not be members of your district, employed by your district. So you're looking for obviously parents and students. You're also looking for like your local health department, community partners who can help you and influence change as well. We even have like a medical director on our School Health Advisory Council. So we meet twice a year. We try to always meet twice a year. I host the meeting. I usually provide a luncheon because usually if I can get them there with food, they will show up. It's not a large group. And I'll review the 8 components of school health and where we're at. And then Kristen is always there if we have changes to the wellness policy. And I can tell you, we have worked on this wellness policy for a long time to get it in really good shape. So as we make changes to the wellness policy, then we present those to SHAC, and then SHAC votes to approve them, and then we go from there. And then I think, Kristen, that's the next slide. Yeah, so we already talked about the SHAC meeting, and then I do present the changes at the meeting, and then I ask them to please email. I give them a couple of weeks and ask them to email any of their input. Some of them will give me input that same day. And then once we get that solid from there, Kristen and I work together. It has to go before the board. It has to have 2 readings. During that time, it can be posted for public review. We post that on our website, and we also put that in our community newsletter that goes out to a lot of people. And do we get a lot of feedback? Not usually, but it is part of Kristen's, assessment. So we have to make sure. I will tell you the most important thing you can do as a coordinator through this process is document, document, document. Because when Kristen comes to me and says, I need your answers on these, you need to make sure you've got your School Health Advisory Council sign-in sheet. They've got to know that you actually hosted this meeting and what you did at the meeting. You've got to see the agenda. And then from there, when you post it on your school website, you got to take pictures. I mean, you've got to provide documentation because Kristen's going to need that for her assessment. Then once it goes before the board, again, it has to have 2 readings. And then once it's approved, it's set. And then we usually we revisit it every year. But I don't know, Kristen, I would say it's maybe been 2 years since we've added changes. And I mean, we try to make changes, y'all. And the reason SHAC is so important, here's a good example. The health department worked with us to obtain an open use policy for our district. And open use means for our playgrounds after hours. So because they sat on the SHAC council, they saw the need for it, that happened. Blue Cross Blue Shield representative was on there. They knew we were a little broke during COVID. So they bought us a share table for one of our schools. So it's not just about SHAC being there for the wellness policy. It's obviously very important, but these people can do a lot to help you improve the lives of your students.
All right, so I'll talk a little bit about the triennial assessment. So when it came to the assessment tool design, I extracted the goals directly from the policy. So Marlia mentioned that she'll send out a sample tool for you to look at, but you just want to be really cautious with something like that because you can't just take theirs and make it your own. You have to adapt it to your own policy. For example, I mentioned earlier that our wellness policy says that our managers are going to work towards ServSafe certification. If you took my assessment and tried to use it on your own policy, that wouldn't make any sense if you don't have a goal about ServSafe. So what I did was I went through and read the policy and I said, okay, where are our goals? Put that in the assessment. And then there's other pieces like, is the wellness policy being reviewed annually? Does it have all the different components it's supposed to have? And then comparing it to model policies, we have something in the assessment about that. So we're looking at all the pieces of the wellness policy that are required and putting that into a tool to make sure that we can assess it. Created a structured assessment tool from there. And then as the policy evolves, we have to make sure that we reflect the tool as well. So the way we handle it is I typically answer all the school nutrition component items and then send it to coordinated school health. And then she finishes it and coordinates the completion of all the other parts. And then sends it back to me and I consolidate it for the final report. So lastly, all the documentation, sorry about that, all the documentation that we have to have, obviously you have to have a copy of your current wellness policy, proof that the policy is posted to the website, proof of that SHAC participation was made public. So this is where when SHAC is going to meet and talk about the wellness policy, we advertise participation on our website, in the newsletter, and then also anything that Kathy does to advertise, I'll ask her to send me that information. Kathy usually does the SHAC agenda when we're doing the, well, always, but specifically, I need it to say that we're reviewing the wellness policy. So usually she'll send it to me ahead of time and just have me review, make sure this is what we need it to be. So I keep a copy of that. We also have them sign in when they come to the SHAC meeting and we ask them to list their role or their organization so we know that we can prove that Chris is a principal and Lori came from the food bank. So we can show that diversity of representation. We keep proof of the recommended changes were posted for public review. So this, like Kathy said, it goes for 2 reads, and that is posted publicly on our district website. So we keep proof that it was posted there, but then we also send it out and post it to our website. So we keep proof that it was. We tried to make it public in more than one place because not many people go and just read board policy agendas. And then, of course, a copy of the triennial assessment, but proof that we also post the triennial assessment to our website. So we just let it live there all the time. The last one we did was 2024. So that's the one that if you were to go onto our website, you would find today. And then lastly, we notify families of the wellness policy and the results of the recent assessment annually in our registration packet. So I keep proof of that as well. So some of the lessons from our processes, one, like Kathy said, clarify roles between school nutrition and coordinated school health early. You want, you each need to know what you're responsible for and work well together in order to get this done. So it helps to distribute those responsibilities across the departments, but maintain a collaborative approach. Use your advisory council as a working body, like Christine said, don't reinvent the wheel, it already exists, use them. And build those assessment tools directly from your policy language.
Right. Any last minute words of encouragement from Hamilton County?
All I can just tell you is that it can be very overwhelming and it can be scary. But I think the more you do every single year and we keep making improvements. I mean, Kristen and I have gone before administration, and I mean, we got the big fat red, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing this. But try. And over the years, I mean, we've got a pretty solid policy, but it doesn't happen overnight sometimes. So don't get discouraged.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Again, we wanted to highlight some best practices that we see across the state, and Hamilton County gets a gold star for their wellness policy collaboration. So thank you so much for presenting and sharing your insight today. All right, so moving on to the administrative review. So like Kristen and Kathy have mentioned, the administrative review is the compliance side of the wellness policy, and that is overseen by school nutrition, as in the school nutrition program are the ones being monitored for the wellness policy and whether or not it's in compliance. So what are we looking for when we go in to conduct an administrative review? We are looking for, do you have a wellness policy? Where's that copy? Are the minimum requirements met? So the requirements we spoke about earlier, are those in your wellness policy? Is your current assessment, is it visible to the public? Have you done an assessment? Are you maintaining that triennial assessment? So every 3-year assessment cycle. And then documentation on how the public and stakeholders can get involved in the local wellness policy or the assessment piece. So all of that is to say that there are tremendous impacts to the wellness policy within your school districts. So nutrition education and promotion within your districts is impacted by that wellness policy. It's helping to really enhance the nutrition education and promotion of food and beverages across the district. It's setting those nutrition standards for all foods and beverages provided to students. So in that local wellness policy, it's great to show best practices and then highlight that class parties are considered when it comes to those nutrition standards, when it comes to food and beverages provided to students during the school day. We've seen great examples of class parties and alternate solutions to cupcakes. So again, really partnering up with coordinated school health within your district, but also reaching out to your neighboring districts too to see what they are doing for their local wellness policy is a great way to share best practices and really improve those policies across the board. Smart snacks are impacted by that wellness policy. I see a question in the chat about who's overseeing the vending machines if they are not run by the school nutrition team. Well, that's typically a principal, or sometimes we've seen it to be different classes. Again, those vending machines, if the students have access to food or beverages in those vending machines within the school day, they need to be Smart Snack compliant. And we do check those during administrative reviews. So we'll run a snack through the Smart Snack calculator to see if it's in compliance, if that vending machine is turned on. Smart Snacks is also applying to those a la carte sales that you see in the cafeteria or items that are sold in those school bookstores by a variety of different classes. Again, if it's provided to students or sold to students during the school day, there are nutrition standards we have to adhere to. Fundraisers for food or beverages, those are also looked at during an administrative review. So we've walked into principals' offices quite a bit during administrative reviews to see what type of fundraisers, the food fundraisers are involved and when are those served, how often. So it's quite more intense than most people think when you just think, oh, it's fundraisers. No, we're asking very specific questions to make sure that those nutrition standards are being met and those exemption days are not being served over those set number of exemption days that either your local wellness policy has established or you're going by the state exemption days. And then we're also looking to see, the impacts of wellness policies and public involvement, because the more the public is involved on the front end, creating these policies and assessments, at least to better inform parents and students. So the community will really know why we do what we do based off of the wellness policy.
All right, it is time for some breakout rooms. So we, in just a moment, are going to break you guys automatically into breakout rooms. When you get in there, we would love for you to designate one person to be your reporter to when we come back to report back to the main group. We're going to give you guys about 10 minutes. And so here are the questions that we want you guys to discuss when you get to these breakouts. We will put these in the chat so you have access to them so you can see them so you don't have to memorize them. But four things we'd like you to try to hit on. First one, how does school nutrition personnel connect with coordinators at the district level? How can your district improve your wellness policy collaboration? What is your plans to improve that local collaboration? And then list one action item you plan to apply within your district over the next 30 days, next school year. So Marlia is going to hit the button. You're going to automatically be put in breakout rooms, and we will copy and paste and put these questions in the chat so you have access to them. And then we will give you a warning when it's about 1 minute before to come back. I feel like we need some music, like some waiting
music. It should be open. You should be moving now.
Boom, 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 boom. Were you able to copy and paste the questions into the announcement chat?
I need a new mouse. My drag and drop is struggling. Okay. Yes, I've sent my announcement. All right. It looks like most people are back. I think we may have lost a couple of people, but that is okay. I hope you got great information from your groups. And we wanted to uh, have a couple of groups share out for any of action items that you want to take back to your school district that you've learned from today. So if anyone would like to report out for their group, please drop in the chat which room you would like to represent. If you forgot your room number, that's okay. Just say, hi, I would like to report out. And we will make that happen. I'll unmute you and you can share with the group.
Since I'm already unmuted, I'll share for 5.
Perfect. Okay.
In group 5, room 5, we talked a lot about the clarification of roles and how, just as a model, this provided some clarity for a lot of people. And I just want to add that it worked for us in Hamilton County, how that was divided out, but it's going to look different in every district. So that was just an example of how it could work.
Great. Any other room? I know a couple of people had some technical difficulties. All right, Audra, one moment. I'll unmute you and you can share out. All right, Audra, you have the floor. You'll have to unmute yourself.
Sorry. Okay.
You're
Just
good.
wanted to say that we did have a supervisor that spoke up, and she's relatively new in her position and has gone through an administrative review and talked about how she has learned, I think, through S&P Academy, regional meetings, new supervisor meetings, and other things, the importance of the wellness policy. And so Leslie and I were in that room and just asked, was that relationship already in place? And I think my understanding from her was that there was something in place, but it wasn't necessarily a very active and strong um, partnership. And since she's learned the importance of the wellness policy, that she has tried to really enhance that relationship and make it more active. And then we had another supervisor that spoke up, and she is also relatively new, not quite as new, and just said that she also came into a district that had some things in place, but again, I think was not super active, and that as she's been there, the longer she's been there, the stronger their action steps are becoming, and I think the better the collaboration is going. And I just mentioned that as a new supervisor, especially, that's one way you can maybe try to get your foot in the door, just by saying, I'm new to this, and I've heard how important it is, and I'd like to be more involved.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much. That sounds like a very productive conversation in that room. And our last report out, Miss Tiffany, I will allow you to unmute yourself. And if you want to unmute that mic, you have the floor.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. So just for room 2, or maybe I was room 5. I can't remember. But anyway, so I was in one room and we had some good discussion. But as far as the piece on kind of improving local collaboration, I think somebody spoke well to point out that sometimes it's difficult when you're just focusing on setting your policy with your health council, because you really need to have, and it's important to have buy-in from school administration and staff in your schools, so that you can really, as far as on the AR piece, be in compliance. And so just trying to, and we've talked about different ways we can improve the collaboration with those groups specifically. And also while it's still maintaining, you know, that work that we do with the health council and things like that. So great discussion.
Fantastic. Sounds like everyone had great discussions within their smaller groups, and I hope that you glean some ideas from one another and you want to rip off and duplicate and take that to your own district. So we will open the floor for any questions you may have. I know we had a couple come in through the chat during the process. We had one question about charter schools. Yes, wellness policies apply to charter schools. You are operating the National School Lunch Program, so you need to have a wellness policy. And that can look multiple ways depending on how your charter school is set up. So if you would just reach out to your regional consultant or the school nutrition team, we're happy to kind of navigate those waters with you to see what will best suit your charter school. And then we had another question, I think we've already answered to it, about if school nutrition does not oversee vending machines, how do you make sure they're in compliance? Well, we'll look at them during an administrative review. And if the school nutrition team needs to talk to whoever's responsible for those vending machines and let them know of the regulations, we're happy to do so. We're here to help during an administrative review. So I know vending machines are ran by lots of different entities, depending on your district. And currently, we do not have a collaborative wellness policy session on the agenda for the Coordinated School Health Institute. However, I know many of these friendly faces on the call will be in attendance at the Coordinated School Health Institute. So if you have any questions, please just flag one of us down and we're happy to get you the answers that you need. And we'll round out the call with some take-home messages. So again, reiterating that creatively collaborate within your district. Again, reach out to those chat groups. They're great. Especially the more diverse groups are, the more resources you may have opportunities to work with. And then collaborate within your district to help improve local wellness policies. This is a district wellness policy. It's not just a school nutrition wellness policy. It's not just a coordinated school health wellness policy. This impacts the whole school district. So be sure to collaborate with one another within your district. Christine, any last words of wisdom for the group?
Nope, I think we've hit everything that we wanted to. And just if you do not know who your district coordinated school health coordinator is, feel free to reach out to me. I think on the next slide, Marlia has our email addresses after the evaluation. So feel free to reach out if you don't know that person. Also, to add a note for the charter schools, if you are a charter school, a good group of people to reach out to would be your county health council. That could be an area of folks that you could collaborate with for your wellness policy.
It's a great resource to have there. Yes, as Christine mentioned, here is the evaluation slide. If you wouldn't mind to take a moment and scan the QR code, or you can click the link that I dropped into the chat, and this will help better improve our trainings moving forward. If you liked this collaborative approach for wellness policy, we're already having questions about whether or not we have a session at Coordinated School Health Institute. We could work it into the agenda for maybe the School Nutrition Program Academy this fall. So yes, we take your feedback from the evaluations and we do apply them to future trainings to help improve information sharing across the board. So help us help you. And again, here are our contacts. Again, reach out to Christine if you have any questions about who your district coordinator is. She's happy to connect you to. And if you have any school nutrition related wellness policy questions, please reach out to your regional consultant, or you can reach out to myself and I'm happy to assist. And as a reminder, you will be getting the recording and the slide deck shortly. As soon as we have that available recording link for you, we will send this out. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your day and stay safe and warm out there during this inclement weather.
Thanks, everyone.